Jennifer jumped every obstacle that life handed her, even when it looked like she was being set up to fail. The journey of this woman from small-town life to the mother of Black Hollywood is filled with pain, struggle, and strife. Let's find out how this Hollywood legend came out on the other side. She has amassed a net worth of nearly $2 million and owns a secret million-dollar LA mansion. New York is where her professional career really began. In just a few months, she debuted on Broadway, doing a small role in the 1979 play Eubie, a musical. From there, she became a backup singer for Bette Midler, which led to her first TV appearance on Midler's HBO specials. However, her time in New York was limited because to become a movie or TV star, all the opportunities were in LA, so she sooner moved there. And Jennifer definitely wanted to be a star. She then moved to LA. This choice changed the trajectory of her career forever, and she started doing more TV and movies than she could dream of. This is the era we all remember her from. She appeared on Murphy Brown, In Living Color, Friends, and Rock. She also held down a consistent role in A Different World, where she played Dean Davenport. For 5 years, she was a recurring character as Aunt Helen in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Her more popular appearances are in the 1993 film What's Love Got to Do With It, where she played Zelma Bullock, and in 2014, Lewis took on one of her most iconic roles as Ruby Johnson in the critically acclaimed television series Blackish. Jennifer was born on January 25, 1957, in Kinloch, Missouri, a small, predominantly African-American community. She was the youngest of 7 children in her family. Her family was very Protestant, and they went to church every Sunday, where her mom was a choir member. When she was 5, she started to sing in the choir with her mom, and continued to do so every single Sunday well into her teenage years. But she wasn't always doing it because she wanted to. When she was in middle school, the choir group was invited to perform at a neighboring church, and the pastor allowed her to ride with him to the event, while the others took a bus. During this time, as her parents weren't aware that she was left alone with the pastor, he sexually assaulted her while she tried to fight him off. From that moment and for years to come, Jennifer lost her religion and began a lifelong battle with mental illness as a result of her unresolved trauma. When she got back from the event, she told her mother what happened, and her mother refused to believe it. She accused Jennifer of making it up for attention, and instead insulted her for it. This drove a grift in her relationship with her mother, and she felt that no one would believe her. The pastor who assaulted her faced no consequences for his actions, and despite protests, Jennifer had to continue going to the church to perform for the choir. In later interviews, she revealed the incident had taken everything away from her. Before he stopped the car to assault her, she was in the middle of asking him, "Do you think I can be a star?" For years, she felt that she had lost not only her religion, but her mother and all of her dreams. After graduating from high school, Lewis attended Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri, where she majored in theater arts. She may not have been a great student at the time, but her time in university gave her exposure to different art forms and allowed her a chance to practice singing at a competitive level. After college, she decided to do what anyone does when they want to be a star: move to New York. You can just about guess what happened next. Curious about the backstory of your favorite stars? Click the subscribe button and notification bell to reveal the mysteries of the lives of these Black Hollywood legends. Jennifer has always had a solid, church-going lady air about her. No matter what role she played, she always seemed to think she was better than you. That is what made her perfect for all the roles she played. It gave writers the opportunity to play around with a greater-than-thee trope in a way they never had before, and she was a comedic talent. Most of her roles during this time, and even going forward in her career, were of a religious maternal figure, with most of her personality traits exaggerated for comedic effect. But she's not so straight-laced as a person. In fact, that's what made her even funnier. Her iconic church lady voice and trills, paired with her rather crass and grand personality and speech, laced with some or other profanity after each word. Her career was doing better than it ever had, but there was something else going on behind closed doors. In between these escapades of career success, Jennifer was seeing a therapist. To her surprise, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In her memoir, The Mother of Black Hollywood, she discusses her journey with mental illness, her career, and her personal life. She enjoyed the feeling of being applauded by an audience, developed delusions of grandeur, and started having manic episodes. To supplement the feeling of a crash after the shows ended, she developed an alcohol and sex addiction. Over time, her depressive moods following the manic episodes became more and more intense, and her therapist Rachel was the one who recognized her issues and put her on the path to healing. Jennifer always felt quite self-important, but she thought it was only out of self-confidence. She also felt sad or depressed quite easily when people didn't know who she was or all of her achievements. Jennifer has always had a solid church-going lady air about her. No matter what role she played, she always seemed to think she was better than you. That is what made her perfect for all the roles she played. It gave writers the opportunity to play around with a greater-than-thee trope in a way they never had before, and she was a comedic talent. Most of her roles during this time, and even going forward in her career, were of a religious maternal figure, with most of her personality traits exaggerated for comedic effect. But she's not so straight-laced as a person. In fact, that's what made her even funnier. Her iconic church lady voice and trills, paired with her rather crass and grand personality and speech, laced with some or other profanity after each word. Her career was doing better than it ever had, but there was something else going on behind closed doors. In between these escapades of career success, Jennifer was seeing a therapist. To her surprise, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In her memoir, The Mother of Black Hollywood, she discusses her journey with mental illness, her career, and her personal life. She enjoyed the feeling of being applauded by an audience, developed delusions of grandeur, and started having manic episodes. To supplement the feeling of a crash after the shows ended, she developed an alcohol and sex addiction. Over time, her depressive moods following the manic episodes became more and more intense, and her therapist Rachel was the one who recognized her issues and put her on the path to healing. Jennifer always felt quite self-important, but she thought it was only out of self-confidence. She also felt sad or depressed quite easily when people didn't know who she was or all of her achievements. She decided to speak up about her diagnosis publicly. In Hollywood and in society in general, people with mental illnesses like bipolar disorder are stereotyped as out of control and outside of the bounds of help. Over her decades-long downhill battle with it, she felt like the diagnosis was basically a sentencing proving that she would never change. However, she actually found that it helped her to get the exact kind of help that she needed and made it easier for her to recognize disruptive patterns in her life. That was the message she wanted to share with people. Even though she was right in the middle of it, she wanted other people struggling with the disorder to know that there was hope yet. Jennifer has always had a very strong connection to the LGBTQ community throughout her career. She grew up in a community that often judged them, and sure enough, she felt the same way herself. But when she started working in theater, her views changed dramatically. She now considers them part of her extended family. They call her Jenny, and she gained popularity within the community because of her big personality and collaborations with drag queens like RuPaul. Reflecting on her early career in the theater, Jennifer realized from the start that the LGBT community has always been integral to that world. Most of the people she worked with backstage and the people who made the shows happen were a part of the community, and by spending time with them and getting to know them, she began to admire their diversity and talents. Even when not on stage, she enjoyed spending time in the makeup room and engaging with her colleagues. After recognizing the change in her own perspectives, she realized how important it was to also advocate for change in that area and started working at the LGBT Center in her community. Jennifer has performed many shows at the center's Renberg Theater over the years and has consistently donated the proceeds back to the center. She recently shared that the cultural arts director, John Imparato, informed her she has raised close to $150,000 for the center's programs over the years. Supporting the center is crucial because she believes everyone must do their part, whether it's through resistance, marching, writing letters, making calls, or any other form of involvement. Over the years, the center has become an artistic home for Jennifer. It serves as a playground where she can tell stories, make people laugh, and sing passionately. Jennifer's contributions to entertainment and advocacy have earned her numerous accolades and recognition. Throughout her career, she has received several awards and nominations, celebrating her talent and impact. She was nominated multiple times for her roles in television and film, and in 2022 she won an honorary Satellite Award. She received the BET Humanitarian Award for her advocacy work and contributions to the entertainment industry. Her legacy as the mother of Black Hollywood was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Jennifer's career never slowed down and never stopped. In recent years, she's continued to act in numerous films and TV shows, including her role in Gemini in Jennifer Lopez's musical documentary and playing Donna in a recent episode of Not Dead Yet. Jennifer Lewis's impact extends beyond her performances and advocacy. She has become a role model and mentor to many aspiring actors and entertainers, particularly women of color, especially as a survivor of sexual assault and spokesperson for awareness about her mental illness. Two groups of African American women are sorely misrepresented in popular media. Lewis's work in Blackish and other projects has also contributed to a broader cultural conversation about race, family, and identity. By portraying strong, multidimensional characters, she has helped to challenge stereotypes and promote a more inclusive representation of African American experiences in media. By sharing her own experiences, she has helped to encourage more open discussions about mental health in the African American community and beyond. Jennifer has always had a deep understanding of her position and significance to other Black actors in Hollywood. Instead of keeping the title to herself, she took advantage of it to platform issues that were important to her. She truly deserves the title of Mother of Black Hollywood. Jennifer has always been secretive about where she lives. It's her home, and she doesn't want anybody, not a soul, knowing that she lives there. In 2013, however, she invited over a special guest to live with her rent-free, and we managed to get a sneak peek into her home and what it looks like. Want to take a look? In 2013, DJ Pierce, known by his drag name Shangela, signed up to live in Jennifer's basement as she mentored him on being the queen of showbiz. Directed by Emmy winner Mary Belly, the show follows her developing relationship with Shangela and the growth he goes through as an artist under her guidance. According to Jennifer, he came backstage after one of her shows, fell onto his knees, and began to weep. She closed the door and asked him what his dream was and how she could make it come true. And that's when he revealed that he wanted to come to LA to be a star, but had nowhere to stay. And she responded, "Why don't you stay with me?" That was the beginning of her friendship with the budding drag queen. What we're interested in is her house, which he surely had the pleasure to live in the basement of. Her million-dollar mansion is hidden in a private corner of LA. In the backgrounds of the episodes, we get a glimpse of Jennifer's taste and sensibilities. Most notably, she has an expansive backyard with a pool connected to a hot tub and a small poolside lounging area. This is where most of her conversations with Shangela take place. In an interview, she states that she has made no renovations to the home since she bought it. She added cacti around the perimeter and painted the pots they sit in herself. She also added a red rose bush and a pink rose bush, both of which she planted and cared for herself. The house is surrounded by a high hedge to increase her privacy. The general style of her home is modeled after an Italian villa, with rose bushes, short balconies, and vines growing on all the walls. Her walls have that same romantic style of accents and engravings, with minor details that add to that theme. Moving inside the mansion, let's start with the room that holds Jennifer's most prized possession, the kitchen. What she's most proud of is the sink. The entirety of the kitchen is marbled cream tabletops with brown, black, and gold accents. The sink she's so proud of is a deep square sink made of white porcelain. The faucet handles are black with golden accents. Following the romantic Italian countryside decor on the outside, the details on the inside of her home are just as glamorous. Her black railing is designed with a floral curly pattern and wraps around the home, giving it a grand entrance from her tall cherry-stained hardwood doors. Around her home, we can spot art pieces that reflect her interest in her African heritage. These include a large native mask and an elephant ornament in her living room, as well as pottery pieces all around. However, the living room has a more modern look to it. Instead of darker tones, it takes on a more minimalistic all-white style, with the only color being a pastel abstract painting hung above her wall. A woman like Jennifer deserves the fairy tale love stories we all dream of, but unfortunately, the story doesn't go how we would expect it to. Until the year 2015, Jennifer had been engaged 4 times to 4 different men, but she never married any of them. Her therapist encouraged her to take on a mentoring role, so she joined LA's Big Sister program, and she was assigned to work with a year-old girl named Charmaine. For 5 years, Jennifer was Charmaine's big sister. Charmaine's mother was suddenly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and Jennifer was sure that the child would be lost to the foster system because she now had no one else to provide for her. To prevent Charmaine from ending up in uncertain conditions, she decided to adopt Charmaine. Jennifer never in her entire life, not biologically or by adoption, intended to have children. Taking on the role of a mother, especially a single mother, was a challenge for her, and she worried that her condition would make matters much worse. But what was done, and all Jennifer could do was give it her all, and she raised an amazing daughter. Charmaine's main interest was in photography, but she currently works as a creative consultant and the Chief Visionary Officer at Lucid Fate. In 2021, she married Keith Dworkin in Las Vegas, and a year later they had a son named Kilanu. Keith is a musician and a writer, and he's worked with big companies like Netflix, Amazon, and Disney. Charmaine's biological parents are still alive, and she only met her father well into her adult years. She shared the experience of meeting him for the first time on her Instagram page. However, Charmaine rarely discusses her biological mother. Jennifer's last romantic escapade was the most shocking. In 2015, Jennifer met a man named Antonio Marriott Wilson in the gym. Antonia claimed to have graduated from Oxford University and been in the Navy. He was highly charismatic and made a lot of grand claims about who he was and the things he had done in his life. Jennifer believed him despite the fact that he was working as a front desk clerk while claiming to be Oxford educated and an Oscar winner. Over the next few months, their relationship continued over text messages, where he would constantly pester her about investment opportunities she was supposedly missing out on. Jennifer agreed to fork over $50,000 to him, and he stopped talking to her after he got the money. It turns out Antonio had done this to at least 3 other women, and when Wilson pressed charges, he pleaded guilty to wire fraud. He researched his victims on the internet and used that information to pretend to have the same interests as them. She didn't find love, but she was awarded over $300,000 in damages when the case was taken to trial. Click on this next video to find out more about the greatest stars of Black Hollywood. Which Black celebrity are you curious about? Tell us, and we might cover them next.